With President Trump's recent announcement on the increase in tariffs from Mexico and Canada, and then doubling the tariffs coming out of China, it's probably really easy to get scared and start thinking, oh my gosh, will all of our prices skyrocket? How is this going to affect my business? And how do I stay financially stable during such a tumultuous time? Those concerns are valid, and believe me, I have them too. But here's the real truth. Changes are always temporary. Is that it's going to change again in very short order. Those who are prepared for change as a routine part of their life, they always come out stronger. And so guys, I was reading a book recently and the business owner said, when you come to work in the morning, come to work expecting there to be problems, because I guarantee you almost 9 times out of 10, there will be some type of problem, whether it's a team member problem, whether it's a liquidity problem, whether it's a client problem, or whether it's just a morale problem, whatever it is in your life or in your business, just come to work expecting the problems to be there. So when you get there, don't feel so off kilter. In this video, I'm going to go over what tariffs actually mean for business owners and consumers, why markets stabilize even in times of uncertainty, and I'm going to give you just a few practical steps that you can take right now to protect your family and your financial stability. First, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jason Ellinger. I'm the CEO of Taika Translations, and my business is directly involved in governmental projects. We've done thousands and thousands of projects for inside the United States and outside the United States, worldwide. And many of our projects and a lot of our work is directly affected by governmental policies and changes in the marketplace in the government space. As we built this worldwide business, we also have connections and a network that stretches around the globe in almost every country of the world. And we hear the feedback from all of them talking about the issues that currently are facing the United States, but the rest of the world. And believe me, there's a lot of hysteria going on around the world outside the United States. Inside the United States, there's plenty. But outside the United States, it's like 10x in some of these countries because the future is uncertain and they're so afraid. And so that's what prompted me to put out this video today, because I think there's some things that we can do to deal with this, and some strategies that I put in place in our life, in our business, to carry us through situations like this when the going gets a little rough and the future is uncertain. Right now, there's a lot going on out there about tariffs and inflation and financial instability, but let's take a moment and break down some of the facts about what's truly happening. So when the government makes drastic decisions, business owners are wondering, I mean, gosh, am I feeling the brunt of this first? Right now, there's a lot of people asking, how will this change in the government impact my profit margins, impact my ability to source our material, impact my international relationships with our clients or our customers or our vendors? Will these new costs force us to raise our prices, cut jobs, or even possibly shut down? Will this market fluctuation and this government and the new administration cause me an inability to plan for the future, or see into the future, look into the future and plan a strategy for success? And these are all very normal concerns, and it's so easy to feel completely unstable. But here are some important things that history shows us. You can go back and look at some of the hardest times in US history in the past 40, 50, 60 years. You can go back and look at the actual data around what happened to our market during this time. And whenever you see, for example, the Twin Towers, and then the 1987, there was the terrible inflation, the change of government from Trump to Biden. I mean, all of these things were very tumultuous, huge events that had major impacts temporarily on the market. What the media did is they magnified all of the negatives, the possible negative outcomes, and the fact that most of us were probably all gonna die sooner rather than later, and the market was gonna go to pot, and life as we know it was gonna completely change, and there would be no future for any of us. And what happened is, a very few short weeks after the dip or the downturn in the marketplace, it came right back to where it was before. And I'm talking about sometimes within weeks after the tragedy in 9/11, the market crashed. I mean, that was a literal market crash. Things shut down. Wall Street closed. Really bad stuff happened that day. I remember that day sitting upstairs, and I was doing my homework for my high school. I was doing homework in high school. I was doing college algebra or something like that. Anyways, and the market crashed, and everybody said the sky is falling, everything's terrible, we're all going to die. And then like 6 weeks later, the market completely recovered and went beyond that number. But nobody acknowledged that. The media, they only looked at it when it was the sky was falling. They only amplified all the negative messages because negativity sells. And the more you amplify something that might cause somebody to fear, the more control you have over them and the more action they're going to take in the direction that you want them to go. So I want to give you just a few practical things on what you can do to adapt, to deal with the current situation, and then to come out stronger in the end. And so instead of panicking, let's focus on what you and I can do right now that will bring us through. The same business book that I mentioned earlier that talked about coming to work expecting problems to be there, coming to your office in the morning as a business owner, expecting that there be challenges, big challenges to face that you were not expecting. He also mentioned the fact that when you come to work and when you deal with those issues, you have to address reality and look into the future and focus on the solution. Don't focus on the problem. Focus on the solution. What is the solution for my situation? And in these times, it becomes powerfully clear what good practices in your life can do. Because when everything that there's an old saying that says when the tide goes out, everybody knows who was skinny dipping. But when the tide is in and the water's high and everybody's comfortable and their lower parts are hidden, you don't know who's skinny dipping. But when the tide goes out and things get a little rough, then you know who's skinny dipping. One of the biggest things that has caused me the most safety of all the decisions I have made in my life, and I think maybe this is the number one thing that has provided safety for myself and my family, aside from trusting in God, because trusting in God is my first and foremost, and I believe in God, and it's a part of my whole life and worldview, and that's my number one thing. But aside from that, the number one thing that I have done is I made, me and my wife, we sat down early in our marriage and we made a decision, a very, very critical decision that I think that everybody needs to address, that everybody needs to talk about. I think it should be part of pre-marriage counseling, or at least involved in some of the first serious discussions that you're having as you're considering someone to marry, is you should talk about money. And there's another old saying that says parents don't talk about sex and they don't talk about money. The kids thought they don't have either, but it turns out they actually have both. And so as you sit down and start your family, you've got to be very aligned on some very important issues. And this one saved my butt multiple times, through multiple administration changes, through multiple ups and downs in our life, through tragedy, pain and suffering, good times and bads. This was my number one. And it was avoid all debt. As much as possible, stay away from debt. Now, I know that sounds a little bit difficult maybe for some people out there, especially if you're drowning in debt, but there is a way out, and you can start today. You can chop up your credit cards, you can make a budget, and you can start saving for your baby emergency fund. Those are the three things you can do right now today. And if you do them, you will be more secure tomorrow. It's like, well, I need my credit card because I need to feel safe. You don't realize that every time you swipe that card, you're making yourself less safe. You're making yourself and your financial future less safe. And that's more dangerous. And if that's more dangerous, that means the less you do of that, the more safe you are. And so there's one thing that has kept me much safer through tumultuousness of life, the ups, and given me it's taken me longer to build wealth because of it, but it's been a much more stable journey, a much, much more stable journey to millionaire status and beyond. And so if you want to navigate through rough waters, stop taking on more debt and get out of the debt that you're currently in. And that is a stabilizing factor that you can control in your life, because you control your spending habits. And that is something that you can do right now. Stop using debt and get out of the debt that you're in as much as possible. So once you get out of the debt that you're in, you create the financial cushion. And if you don't know where to start at baby step one. I also have a couple other videos talking about financial success. You can go back and watch those. But baby step one is save $1,000. I saw statistics in America that talked about most American families not having enough money to cover even a $400 emergency. And it was shocking to me because I have had enough money to cover a $400 emergency for my entire marriage now, because my wife and I sat down at the beginning and said, okay, how do we feel about debt? What are we going to do with this issue of debt and credit? And we were like, and we discussed it. And it's like, okay, we're never going to use it, not ever, for anything, not ever, no matter how painful it gets. And we made that decision up front, and it's carried us throughout our whole life. And I built two houses. One I built and I lost it because I built it on somebody else's land that promised me that I would be able to get the land, and I was too stupid to realize that that was a dumb idea at my young early age, and I lost the house because I built it on somebody else's land. And then the second time I did it, of course, I bought the land myself, got everything under my own name, and now actually that's this house where I am today. Um, and now I have a big and beautiful 6,000 square foot house because uh, I just did it right the next time, and I saved up the money, and I worked building along with about six other guys and built this house for me and my family, and we get to keep it this time because we built it on our own property, and we did it completely without debt. There's zero payments. Can you imagine where you have zero payments for any house for your home? That's incredible. And so you can do that too, but you start by stop using credit and by saving up your first baby emergency fund. Step number 2 is the second thing you can do. It's not as important as the first, but it's a very close second. And that is, don't panic, be proactive. Take action, stop letting life happen to you, happen to life. You keep learning about what's going on in your sector. Talk to your boss. If you feel like you might be getting fired from your work, you need to know as early as possible. And as early as you can find out, the better. Humans are so afraid of the unknown. It's the unknown that paralyzes us. But when we understand what the enemy in the future is, we can create a battle plan. And so that's what I would encourage you for. Look into the future, find out what the reality is for your life, talk to your boss and find out what the environment is. If you have a boss, or if you own a company, look into the environment and look at what's going on with your clients and what's going on in the industry and address the reality, and then be proactive. You look at those details and create a plan. My company, as we go through these times, we have crisis management meetings to deal with the impending issues that may be negatively impacting our company. So don't panic. Panic is not going to create any good outcomes for you. Be proactive. Happen to the situation. Don't let the situation just happen to you, because there's a lot you can control, and you should start controlling it today, like debt. If you run a business, focus on long-term strategies that take you through. So you're going to have a team. They're going to be afraid about what's going on in the marketplace, and you address it. And then you say, all right, guys, this is where we are. And if you've been in business for a while, you have probably faced such situations, aka COVID. So COVID was worse than what we're facing today, especially for many business owners out there. I mean, especially for our business, it was much worse than what we're facing today. And so, like, all of my clients stopped paying for at least 90 days, every single one. And I had to figure out how to pay all of our team and continue living, because all of our team needed to eat, right? And their families. So what did we have to do? We had to figure it out. And we did. You have to look out into the future, focusing on the solution, what's going to carry you through this mess, and talk about it, describe it, discuss it in detail. Realize that meeting after meeting after meeting, you're probably going to have to say and talk about something about that. And this goes in your family too. So in your family with your spouse, everybody's feeling a lot of this fear, and this energy from the whole nation is feeding into our families in any case. And if we don't address that reality, of course, then it makes us like an ostrich putting our heads in the sands and not addressing reality. But at the same time, we have to work with our team in the most basic form. Your family is like your team. And so as you work with your family around this issue of what's going on in the marketplace, you have to look into the future and say, okay, these are the things that we're doing. This is what the future is going to look like. And do some vision casting and make it pretty clear that, okay, we've gone through some stuff, and here's what the future looks like, and we can get through this too. Why can we get through this? Because we're united as a family, we're committed to each other, and we're committed to doing whatever it takes to get through, to go to the future. And as you do this, time and time and time again, You'll reinstate confidence in the whole team and in the whole family. So in your business and in your family. And then you will find people coming up with solutions. You'll find yourself coming up a brighter and more optimistic outlook on the future. And you'll probably get a lot more done and seize some of the opportunities that are around you that maybe you're just not seeing because of the fear or the negativity that you're in. And that kind of flows into my last point is you do have to address the reality of today. And I know I've talked about this a couple times during this video, but the economy moves in cycles. You have to address the reality of today. The economy moves in cycles. I've been in a long-term investor for a long time. For a long time, I've been a long-term investor. And when I started investing, the first few times that you see a downturn in the economy and you're like, my hair's on fire. We're all going to die. I'm going to lose everything that I have. And then you get through it and it's like, oh, well, that wasn't so bad. And then the next time it happens. And then the next time it happens and you're actually with a bunch of people and everybody's hair is on fire and you're like, we're all going to die. What's going to happen? And you're like, wait a minute. This happened a couple of years ago and we didn't all die and I have more money than I had then. So what gives? What's the deal? And then and the experience gives you peace. And that's why I want to, that's something I'm hoping that you're catching on to in this video, is that our experience and our history has had many ups and downs. Our collective, yours and mine and everyone's. And as we have lived through those, so shall we live through these. And I think that's very important for you to latch onto and just kind of get some peace about. So the economy has its ups and downs, and smart decisions set you up to get through such situations, creating tomorrow's success. And that's what I want you to focus on, because those are active things that you can do right now in your own life. Living in fear means that you're not able to live up to your full potential. And I think everybody should be happy, should be productive, and living up to their full potential. And when you live in fear, you can't do that. And I think that's even why God, when he comes to visit, for example, when he sent the angels to announce the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem, we all know the Christmas story, but remember what he said first, what the angels said first when they met the shepherds in the field. They said, fear not. They said, don't fear. Because if you're afraid, I think they were saying also, you'll not be able to receive this message of hope and then spread it to everyone else. And so they're like, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. And I hope that's a vibe that you're getting from this video today. I think that's the message. I think we don't need to be afraid, and then receive that message of hope and then do something about it, because you can today. And I hope that thought and those words are a little bit empowering for somebody out there, because you really do have power over you, and you really can change your outcomes if you focus on the good and what you can do today to make a difference. So the best thing you can do right now is to stay informed and to take action. Don't be paralyzed. Don't get into analysis paralysis. To stay informed of what's going on and take action on what you can do. Reduce your debt. Pay off your loans. Stop using your credit cards. Those reduce risk just like that. If you want to talk more about what this means for you in your industry, please drop some comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Over the overarching message here, if you choose hope over fear, your outcomes will be infinitely better. We've been through such situations before. There's been ups and downs in the marketplace, and when you choose hope and preparedness over fear, you'll come out better on the flip side every single time. Like and subscribe to the video, please, if you would, and share this with somebody who needs to hear it.